Welcome back. Nearly half of all Americans have received at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, and maybe that's you. So what does that mean for the spring and summer ahead? I talked with infectious disease specialist Dr. Rhame about what you should and should not do post-vaccination. Dr. Rhame, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Great pleasure again to see you.
All right, so let's start with the current COVID situation in Minnesota, where our cases stand, how we're looking from your view.
Well, it looks like we may have peaked with respect to total cases. The hospitalizations have not quite gone down yet. The deaths have been down. That reflects, of course, the great protection we've gotten in vulnerable elderly people with vaccine. The age of hospitalized people has gone down, and there's a hint that that some of the disease we're seeing in younger people is more severe than it has been. This is linked to the question of what is the impact of variants on what's happening. We know for sure that the variants are more transmissible, and there's been conflicting information on whether they're more severe. And we have actually we have a variety of variants in town as well. Most of them are the UK B.1.1.7, but there are others as well.
So if we are vaccinated, our behaviors can change a little bit. We can start to do this or that. And you're saying there are actually quite a few freedoms that come with being fully vaccinated.
Well, actually, the CDC has made a total of 13 that I can find changes in recommended behavior for vaccinated people as opposed to unvaccinated people. And unless you're in a very densely packed area, if you're outdoors in any sort of breeze at all, the transmission risk is pretty dang low. But the ones I think that are most telling have to do with travel, for instance, or exposures. If you've been vaccinated and you want to have a bunch of friends over who are vaccinated, there's no recommendation to mask at all. And in fact, you could have one bubble worth of people in that group that are unvaccinated as long as they're asymptomatic. But if you're not vaccinated, you're not supposed to have any meetings with people who are of any state.
If I'm fully vaccinated, and the group that I'm traveling with is fully vaccinated, you're saying people can be comfortable with flying and that they don't need to necessarily test and quarantine per CDC guidelines. Their work might require something different, but
right. So the recommendation for a domestic travel for an unvaccinated person is to get tested a couple days before you go, and to quarantine and get tested after you get back. For a vaccinated person, there's no recommendation to do any of that. You just go about your business as long as you feel normal. I don't worry so much about transmission on the plane, but I'm in an N95 and face and eye protection when I go through that airport because the ceilings are low in our airport. There are a lot of people there. Not everybody is masking fully. They're doing much better, but they're not all doing it fully.
Let me ask you about international travel, because that would seem to me to be sort of a different beast.
The complexity there is that you have to deal with both the U.S. recommendations and the recommendations of the place where you're going. But the CDC says there's no need for testing yourself from our side before you go, and there's no need to test yourself after you come back or quarantine yourself after you come back if you've been vaccinated, as opposed to if you've not been vaccinated.
Would you recommend to your patients that they travel internationally?
What I say is that international travel is something we can do if we're disciplined about behaving correctly where we go. I'm not sure I would travel to India today because India is really in an awful situation. So I might modify that according to what's going on in the place to which you're contemplating going.
If I'm vaccinated, what can I do? I can get together with any of my friends inside or outside if they've been vaccinated too?
Yeah, so if you're vaccinated, it is safe in the CDC's eye for you to have people over who are vaccinated, any number, in any density, in any air circulation circumstance. And you could actually permit one group, one little pod of family contacts who are asymptomatic, who haven't been vaccinated.
Let's talk about masks. If we're vaccinated, like, where are we still wearing them? Where are we not wearing them?
So if you're in a public space, part of supporting our national effort to control this vaccine is to be masked. And happily, a lot of the stores we go to are not going to let us in without a mask. I don't mind wearing a mask in those situations. And second cases of COVID do occur. So you really don't want to be in a confined space, poorly vented confined space with lots of people in any circumstance, because second cases of COVID do occur. They're rare. They tend to be milder, but they do occur.
Does any of this make you nervous at all? Or do you think we're headed in the right direction and these are appropriate steps?
So I'm a big fan of graduated lightening up and being disciplined in doing what we have to do. The things that drive me nuts are when jurisdictions toggle back and forth between lockdowns and no precautions whatsoever. That's just not the best way to do it.
Dr. Rhame, thank you so much for being here.
All right, it's a great pleasure.